Hey guys, it's Michelle with Florida Keys Birding, and today we're talking about the migration of the ruby-throated hummingbird. So we're gonna take a look at the map and see what's going on. We're gonna take a look at migration patterns. We're gonna look at the whole map initially, and then we'll look specifically at Florida and the Florida Keys, because the migration patterns there are a little bit odd and they're a little bit different compared to the rest of the United States. So I know some of you are seeing hummingbirds start to return to your feeders already. All of my wintering hummingbirds have left. I have seen a few migrating through when we had that storm system a few days ago that lasted a while. We got a ton of rain, so a lot of birds were just kind of stopped on their way where they were. They had to kind of land over here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the map starting in January. Okay, so if we start in January, we see that they're down here in Central America. They're down here by Nicaragua, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Belize, and the Yucatan, and a little bit down here into Mexico. There's other hummingbirds that will stay in these areas all the time and farther south, but this is specifically for the ruby-throated, so it's a little different. Okay, so we can see that they're hanging out there. Now we're hitting like March 8th, and we're starting to already see by March 29th how they're moving. They're moving north. They're already in the Gulf Coast. They're already getting a little bit more abundant through Florida. And we're starting to see some more movement by April 12th, which is maybe right around right now. They're starting to see them in Georgia. I have a friend that lives in Georgia, and she's actually starting to see them again at her feeder. So yeah, we're starting to see them in the southern US and in the Gulf states. And as we go a little bit farther into April 19th, a little bit more, we're starting to see them more throughout Florida. And it looks like they're kind of congregating here at the Yucatan. You can kind of see, and what they're doing is they're lifting off from here in the Yucatan, and they're doing that Gulf jump just like most birds are in spring. They're all kind of congregating right here. This is kind of the most northern point that gives them the least energy that they have to expend to make that jump over the Gulf into these areas. And then I'm sure there's probably some here. Let's see, Cuba. Is there any? No, it doesn't look like there's any in Cuba in the winter. Yeah, so we'll go back. But it looks like maybe some jump off and they go here, and maybe some jump off and then they go here, right? So we're already down to April 26th. It looks like there's an abundance that's increasing in the Keys and the lower Keys especially, and then through the west here. So they're probably going boom, boom, boom. That's probably exactly what they're doing. And see, May 3rd, there's still some movement. There's still a lot going on. Let's see, I need to zoom the map out. And wow, okay, so they're almost all, they're decreasing now in the Yucatan. By May 10th, they're almost all up into the eastern United States. Practically gone in the Yucatan by May 17th, pretty much in most of the states up to the northern states into Canada by May 31st. We still got some in Florida. And by June 14th, they're all the way up almost to Canada to do their breeding thing. So they're pretty much all throughout here in all the eastern to Midwest United States areas. So this is in June, okay? So let's go all the way into June, late June. They're pretty much all, yep, they're all there. There's a lot of them. Abundance has increased. So pretty much everybody's there all through summer doing their breeding thing. There's quite a few of them. We got August into August 17th. And yep, see the dark purple. Oh, and look at that. They're starting to move down through Mexico by September 7th. And they're getting more frequent farther south. And look, they're starting to show up a little bit in South Florida by September 28th. There's quite a few in Mexico, so it looks like they go up and then they go down and across. and then you know, in spring they actually jump over instead of going back the other way, which is weird. I wonder why they do that. I'm not really sure. Okay, and then by October we've got them all coming through, and they're pretty much all in Mexico. So let's see, until October 26th and November 2nd, they're already pretty much, by November 9th, they're pretty much almost out of the US except Florida and maybe, you know, a little bit Texas and, you know, a couple of places, couple little spots. For the most part, by November 23rd, November 30th, December 7th, and then it looks like there's certain areas that they just kind of remain and where they don't move, because look, through January they're still in these places, and in February. So okay, let's take a look farther down. Let's look at Florida and then the Keys. Alright, so this is January. This is the movement, because I noticed that hummingbirds usually show up end of October in my area, and they're usually gone by maybe first week of April-ish, other than, you know, some that kind of continue to come through. So every year normally I take my feeder down by like first week of April, second week of April or so. I put mine back out because a bunch of people in the lower Keys were saying that they had hummingbirds a couple of days ago, so I said, okay, maybe they're still making their way through. So let's take a look at migration down here. Okay, so this is starting January 18th into February. It looks like they're pretty heavy here in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm. There's a few in the lower Keys, and into March. Hold up. Where are the ones? Yeah, I'll take a look. Let's see. Where are the ones by where I'm at? Because, okay, here we go. This shows kind of, yeah, this kind of shows the upper Keys. So yeah, there's a few hanging out in the upper Keys, there's a few in the lower Keys and Big Pine and in Key West, and then plenty in Miami and, you know, South Florida, and then even over here, right? Alright, so let's take a look. Let's zoom out a little bit. Let's do that. Okay, so now you can kind of see. Okay, so let's do January into February, March. So it looks like they're starting to be on the move. And then you can kind of see them increasing throughout the Keys. So this is probably their end, you know, and then it looks like they're starting to already leave Miami and Fort Lauderdale and going up into Central and North Florida, where they will, quite a few will remain. Yeah, look at that. It gets pretty heavy, and looks like by May 10th, down here in the lower Keys, so they probably do pass through and they probably do land in these spots when they're jumping, doing that Yucatan jump. Okay, now, yep, by May 24th, they're pretty much out of the Keys except for a few. They're pretty much out of South Florida, and they're up into North and Central. And look at that, yeah, by June, and it looks like this is kind of where they hang out. And then there's some few places that they hang out through here as well. So this is the migration pattern for the ruby-throated hummingbird through, you know, Florida and then through the rest of the US. So pretty interesting pattern. Let me know if you guys are seeing any up by where you are yet. Let's see, today is, let's see, April 12th. Okay, so this is about where they say that they are right now. And I mean, it sounds about right because I'm getting a lot of reports in the lower Keys and a few in the upper Keys, but not as much, because it seems like this would be an easier piece of place for them to land, an easier piece of land for them to land, for them to get there. And if you see even through here, yep, it's more heavy on the west coast. So it makes sense because they're doing that jump. This is where they're getting to. This is where they're landing in these areas. And oh yeah, and through Texas, the same. Yep, there they go. Okay, so that's it for the migration patterns. boom. This is about where they are today. So I would say keep your feeders up until June if you're in a place that they usually do leave you for the winter, just because, you know, you could get one. You could get one coming through, and you could see, I don't usually get any that I see in breeding plumage by my house through the winter, but last week I saw one, and I hadn't seen one in like 2 weeks, and I did get one male that had the nice ruby throat, which I usually don't get any. I usually just get like the young males or the females. So yeah, I would say keep your feeder up and keep it clean until maybe the end of May, and then go ahead and take them down after that. If you're in an area that they're going to be staying for the summer, of course, now is the time to put your feeders up and keep them up until fall migration ends. So, yep, and this is into summer in July. Yep, there's quite a few. So let's talk about some flowers and stuff like that you can feed your hummingbirds. Feeders are good, but it's also good to have some hummingbird, you know, flowers and plants and stuff like that. So as you can see, this little guy's got some pollen on his head. I'm really not sure how that happened. I don't know what plant he was in that he got pollen all over his head like that. He or she, I'm not really sure in this picture. The young males look similar, but yeah, look at all that pollen. It's really, really crazy. I was like, is this a new type of hummingbird? I was like, I don't know. So, this first one here is the fire spike plant. It's pretty popular, as you can see. They really love this one. This is a shrimp plant, red shrimp plant. That's a popular one. This is a candlestick cassia that's flowering. This is also a host plant, and pollinators love it. As you can see, all those bees inside of there. So that's another good one. I noticed the hummingbirds do love it when it's blooming, so you get, you know, 2 for 1. You get sulfur butterfly host plant and you get hummingbirds, so that's a good thing. Let's see, this next one is, oh, the fire spike, red fire spike. This one is also super duper popular. My hummingbirds love this one all winter long. I have a lot of hummingbird plants. So, you know, I have feeders too, so it does attract them to the yard. This is one perched up on, yeah, I noticed that they'll go up to a perch after they eat and stuff like that, so it's a good idea to kind of look around whenever they leave your yard. Yep, here's some more of the blooming fire spike plant coming through. Yeah, they really like this stuff, so this will attract them to your garden. A hummingbird feeder is good, but you know, having maybe some shrimp plants, some fire spike, firecracker plant, you know, anything tubular, red, you know, brightly colored, they really like that. They really like tubular flowers in general. So yeah, I got tons of hummingbirds this winter. I planted these maybe a year or 2 ago, and they're all like really big right now. So yeah, there's a bunch of them. There's another one down here. Let's see. There's the shrimp plant again. And then they really like this beach morning glory. Oh yeah, this one here. So this kind of runs wild through my garden, this beach morning glory. They really seem to like that too. It's a tubular flower, so yeah, this one was really neat. You know, this one kind of goes all over the place. I kind of have to keep it under control because it gets a little bit invasive at times. So, but it's really pretty. So yeah, these are some, you know, nectar plants. You want to have nectar plants along with a feeder. You want to do both. It's really important for them because, you know, the feeders can get dirty, and you know, it's even better to kind of have both. And they also have coral bean, but my coral bean usually blooms kind of too late for the hummingbirds. It depends, give or take. So, but there's lots and lots of other plants you can do. You can do coral honeysuckle, Cape honeysuckle. You can do any kind of sage. I have tropical sage too. I just don't have a picture here. So yeah, there's quite a few things you can do. You'd want to go ahead and get those things out there now, right away, because the hummingbirds are coming your way if they're not already there. So you can do your own hummingbird mix, your own, you know, for your feeder. I wouldn't recommend buying the ones that are pre-made. Don't add any red dye to them or anything like that. That's no good. But you can do your own by doing 1 part sugar and 4 parts water, and you can mix it and change it at least, you know, 2 to 3 times a week, and make sure you get a little brush and you get in those holes really good. Make sure there's no mold, no black mold or anything, you know. And if your feeder it gets nasty, you know, just go on Amazon and get a fresh one, buy a new one. You know, I like to do that sometimes each year, just get a new one. If you're, you know, if it got out of hand and you let it get really bad one time, you might want to just go ahead and pitch it. It's not worth the risk of the hummingbirds. So yeah, you know, let me know if you guys are seeing hummingbirds yet, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks. Bye.